So what we are going to do for the word problem, because by now you know how to solve solve for x. So for each of the word problem, we are just gonna start by setting up the equation, and then I'll let you guys solve all the problem, finding the unknown later. Okay, so the hardest part is to get the correct table, right? Like over here, we break it down into 4 steps. First one, we need to choose a let, right? Need to be clear what you are looking for. And then number 2, we need to set up a table, right? Setting up the table, we need to figure out the 2 scenario. In question A, the 2 scenario is one is going, one is returning, right? So you have to identify. Sometimes the scenario could be like one person and then driving the car, the other person riding a bicycle, right? 2 different vehicle, right? Or sometimes is A to B, and then the other part is B to C. So you need to read the question depending on the question, and then you set up 2 different scenario, and then they are under the title of speed, time, and distance. And then the formula we went over, we had it on the top, right? The triangle. So basically just remember this triangle, then you can fill, okay? All right, and then step 3, once you got the table all filled out, there's always one last column, right? Last column over here. Let me highlight that, right? Last column, then you need to use formula. And that last column, if it's under the time, then you look at the question, right? Which part, which number about time you haven't used yet. So usually it's about, usually that's the number you have to use to create an equation, right? So you grab your last column, right? Grab the last information you haven't used yet, put it together, then that will be your equation. And whether it's adding, right? If you look at the equation here, we have x over 100 plus x over 80. This part's adding, but it's not always adding, right? Depending on what they say. So later you'll see other examples. Okay. Give me 1 sec. Okay, so once you set up the equation, right? Last step, you have to state a simple sentence. Okay, so in the homework, some of you did not do the last step. Okay, so because it's a word problem, so you got to show that you understand what you are trying to answer, right? Just a simple sentence. So let's start with question B. Okay. All right. So can I have Colin, can you read question B out for us?
The speed of a plane is 7 times as great as the speed of a car. The car takes 3 hours longer than the plane to travel 315 kilometers. Find the speed of the car and the speed of the plane in kilometers per hour.
Okay, thank you. So you can read it by yourself, a little bit slower, right? Try to break it down 1 sentence at a time, right? So you have one information that is the first part, right? Second part is talking about the time, right? And then the third part is talking about what you want to find. So when you break it down a word problem, right, then it doesn't look as scary as it look, right? If you look at the whole paragraph, right, it looks more difficult. Right, so first question I will ask is, what are we looking for? What should be our let? Okay, any volunteer? What should be the let? Something be X. That something should be something we want to find.
Speed of the plane.
Okay, speed of the plane. Okay, so you want that to be x?
Sure.
Okay, speed of plane, bx. Okay, is there anything else we want to find? Or is that the only one?
Speed of the car as well.
Okay, speed of the car. Speed of the car. Well, we cannot call it x as well, right? Because it's different speed, okay? So what should we do then? How is the speed of the car related to the speed of the plane? If you know the plane
It'd
speed,
be x plus 3
why is it x plus 3?
because it takes 3 hours longer.
Okay, so let's take a look, okay? The 3 hours longer, right? Because there's always three things involved here. We have the speed, time, and distance, okay? It's the 3 hours
Jason,
longer. Huh?
I think the speed of the plane is 7x and the speed of the car is x.
Okay, so you want to reverse around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the 3 hours is for time, right? So we cannot use that for the speed. So the clue should be the first part, right? Speed of the plane is 7 times the speed of the car. So it's better to choose, right? If you use the plane to be x, okay? Let's say if this is x, then car should be slower by 7 times. So x over 7, if you use plane to be x. But we don't like fraction very much, right? So it's better to use the other way. So have speed of the car to be x. So plane is 7 times, right? It tells you you need to times it by 7 times the x. Okay, so that's our last statement. So if you get two unknown, then you need to have two less statements. Okay, if possible, right? If the question give you enough to write out two let. Now we're ready to set up the table. Okay. So always have 4 columns like that. Speed, time, distance. And then remember speed times time equals distance. That's the relationship. If you forget, right, you look at the triangle at the top. The green, right, speed times the time will give you the distance on the top, or speed is distance over t, right, or t is distance. Whatever on that means is in the numerator. Okay, so let's move back. Okay, we need to know what are the two scenarios here. Okay, we need to have two rows, right? So what should go there? Brennan? This part.
Car and plane.
Yeah, okay, so two vehicle, right? One is about the car, speed, time, and distance for the car. The other one is speed, distance, time for the plane. Okay, so this one is not about the going trip and return trip. It's about the two different vehicle. Okay, plane. So I'll let you try to fill in, okay? Fill in the table. There should be a last column you couldn't fill in, which you need to use formula. Okay, there's always one last column you cannot get it from the question. And to fill that in, you need a formula. Okay, so fill in as much as you can, and then you can raise your hand, okay? We'll go over the table together. Okay, please raise your hand if you finish filling in. I'll give you a start, okay? For example, the first box here, right? This box represents the speed of the car, right? So of course it's something we want to find, right? So you cannot put a number there. So that box, you put X, right? That's from the last statement, okay? So far, only one person. You can give it a try, okay? Even if you don't think it's correct, we can discuss, okay? Whether it's right or wrong, you always learn something. So we can also discuss, okay? If the thing that you put it in, it doesn't work, well, we need to understand why it doesn't work, right? So next time you don't make the same mistake. But the most important thing is you tried it out, right? Try to put down something. Okay, Brandon, can you tell us what you have in the box? Let's go for the car first, okay? What do you have in the car?
For speed is x, distance is 30 times 15, and time is 315 over x.
Okay, let me write that down. So distance is 315 and time is 315 over x. Is that right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, okay. And how about Aaron? How about for plane?
For speed is 7x. For
Mhm.
time is 315 divided by 7x. And the
Okay, the internet is a bit slow today. 315 over 7x, and then distance is 315. Is that what you got, Aaron?
yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, does anyone have question about how these are found? Okay, you have to ask me. Okay, does everyone got the same? So the only thing that we are not using is the 3 hours, right? 3 hours, you cannot put it into any of the box, okay? Because 3 hours is talking about comparing the time for the each vehicle, right? Both vehicle, car, and plane, they both travel 315 kilometer, but because plane is faster, right? So the time will be different, okay? So if you want, right, you can write it on the side, right? Just remember the car is slower, right? Plane is faster. Okay. So you fill in 315 from the question, fill in the speed from the last statement. So the last column for the table is the time. Okay, and the last column, you always use the formula. You take the distance, divide by speed, then you get the last column. Okay, so next part, we got everything down in the table, right? We want to set up an equation. So when you want to set up the equation, you need to look at the time, right? So you mentioned about the 3 hours, right? And then the time column that you got, from the table. You use those to try to set up an equation. So here it tells you that the car takes 3 hours longer, right? More time than the plane to travel 315 kilometers. So car, longer time, plane, shorter time. Okay, there are a couple of ways to set up the equation for this. And the way I explain is you can think of a scale, okay? I'm gonna draw it out, right, to help you visualize. So this is the scale for time, okay? Let me draw that again. Time, right? So you have, let's say if the times, for the left side, I will call it a car, okay? Right side is the plane. If the time are the same, if they take the same time, then the scale is flat, okay? Like the way you see right now. Now, because it tells you that the car is 3 hours longer. So longer, I'm gonna make it higher, okay? Taller, right? Higher. So I'm gonna make this go up. Okay, longer time. Longer time. Up means more, okay? So it's not the like the weight, okay? So heavier will go down, right? But we're not talking about the weight here. I'm just using this picture to show you higher is more, right? Lower is less, right? So over here, this is less time, lesser time, okay? Shorter time. Give me a moment. Shorter time. Okay. So you have left side is longer time, right side is shorter time, right? So if you want to make them equal, because our goal is try to make an equation, okay? So let me write down the time for each one. The car time from the table is 3:15 over x, right? This is from the table. Right side is the time for plane. So 3:15 over 7x. So they don't equal each other, right? So the left side is higher. So if you want to bring it down and make them equal, you need to subtract the time. So let's say if the car takes 5 hours, then the plane will be 2 hours, right? Because the car is 3 hours longer, right? So 5 need to subtract 3, right? To become the plane of the time of the plane. So if I want to make the car time to be the same as the plane time, I need to subtract 3 from the car. Does that make sense so far? Can you raise your hand if you understand this analogy? Okay, car time is longer. Longer, just imagine, is taller. Okay, and you want to bring the balance, right? Equal means balance. To give it a balance, you need to subtract 3 from the longer one. Eric, do you have any question?
This kind of makes sense until now, so I'm not really confused.
Okay, then you got to raise your hand so I know, okay?
Oh, sorry, I thought I read.
Yeah, this is one way, right? So you could subtract 3 from the car, right? Because the car is longer. Or, right, you can bring the balance the other way. I can make the shorter time to go up, right? To make it balance again, to make them equal. So shorter time is for the plane, right? So shorter time, the plane can add 3 hours, right? The plane the time for the plane, if you add 3 hours, it will be the same time as the car. So they equal, right? The key is to make the two time equal. So become a balance. So you can have either of the two equation. It doesn't matter. At the end, you're still ending up solving the same x. Okay, so let's just use what we have right now. Okay, so you can later we'll solve it. Okay, so this is plus 3 on the right side. Okay, I'm gonna rewrite this. Okay, so this is the equation. I just keep it all in the same color. Okay. So of course, after this, you'll start to solve, okay? But right now, we'll just leave it at here for now, okay? So to solve, you need to multiply the whole thing by common denominator, okay? We won't be solving yet, okay? We'll go over all the setup for every question, and then we'll come back to solve them, okay? So after this step is the same as before. Multiply everything by common denominator, and then solve for x, okay? Right, anyone has question? So keep the idea of this balance scale in mind, okay? It's pretty good way to visualize what's going on, where to put the +3 or to put the -3, okay? If you put it at the wrong place, you put the +3 on the car side, it doesn't make sense, right? You're making the time, car time even longer, right? Okay, so let's look at C. So if you understand B, right, C shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so I'll let you try step 1 and 2. Okay, step 1 and 2 by yourself. Figure out what's the left, and then make up a table by yourself. Okay, and then we'll go over those together first, making sure everyone get the right table before we do step 3. So please raise your hand after you finish the table, okay?
Wait, Jason, are we doing the next question, number C?
Yeah, we are doing question C, but only step 1 and 2, okay? We'll come back to solve the equation later after we finish all the setup. Okay, whether you get stuck or not, okay, as long as you tried it out, you can raise your hand, okay? Okay, Colin, can you tell us what's your last statement?
Let the distance be x.
Okay, distance from Calgary to Vancouver, right? Okay, so distance, okay, bx. And then now for the table, right? What should be the two category, right? Two scenario. Before was car and plane. But in this question, we don't have a car, right? So what should it be there? Okay, Aaron, what do you think are the two scenario? Aaron?
Uh, like one's going at 750 kilometers per hour, and the other one's like 600 kilometers per hour.
Okay, so you have one scenario is flying faster, the
Faster,
other,
yes.
yeah, faster flying speed and the slower flying, right? So you can just category into fast and slow, okay? So it's the same plane, right? There's no car involved here. So fast trip and the slower trip. Okay, now let's go over the fast one first. Okay, Eric, what are your speed, time, and distance for the fast?
750x and then 750x.
750x, like that? In
No, that's for the distance.
distance.
So speed is 750 kilometers an hour.
Uh-huh.
Time is x,
Uh-huh.
and then distance is 750x.
750x. Okay. Does anyone have something different? Or do you all agree? Anyone got different things?
I thought distance is x.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
from the
same.
last
I got
statement, right?
distance is x.
Yeah, last statement we are looking for, right? So remember when you read the question, what, right? That means your target, right? So you lock your target on what is the distance. So distance should be the x. Okay, Eric? Eric,
Yeah,
yeah, do you understand why we put x there instead of
because we're
7?
finding like the distance.
Yeah, if you put x at the time, that means we're looking for time. But the question is not looking for time, right? Otherwise, it will say, how long does it take, right, to fly from Calgary to Vancouver, right? So we're not looking for that. So if that's the x, how do we get the time then, Nathan?
Distance over speed,
So what do I put inside the box?
x over 750.
Yeah. Okay, and can you continue, right? Tell us your slow trip.
Speed 600.
Mm-hmm.
The distance is x.
Mm-hmm.
And the time is 600.
Yeah, x over 600. So once again, our last column, which we need to use the formula, is the middle one, okay? It's not always the middle one, it depends, okay? So you have to work on the spot, right? Depending on the question, if you are able to fill in speed and distance from the question, then the last one is the time, right? If they give you information about speed and time, then your last column will be distance, okay? It's not always the middle one. Right, so once you get here, right, we need to think about how to make an equation, okay? So we search our question here, right? See, here we break it down, right? 3 parts, right? That's one part. right? One sentence, and then another sentence, and then another sentence. Okay, so think about where it mentioned about time. Okay, in the question, there is still another information about the time that you haven't used yet. So you're gonna grab that and also grab the last column to make the equation. Okay, so think about how we use the scale to bring it to balance. Okay, so we need something equal to something. We need the fast trip to equal to the slow trip, right? So you need to either add or subtract from one of the side. Okay, I'll let you try that. When you get an equation, please raise your hand. Okay, looks like almost everyone finished. Can you raise your hand if you got it? How about you, Eric? Okay, Yosher, can you tell us what you have for your equation?
X over 600 minus 1 equals to X over 750.
Okay, so you have a subtract 1 on the slower side, right? Okay. Anyone has something different? How about Aaron? What do you have?
I got the same.
Same thing. Colin?
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay, so let's quickly just go over it. Okay, so let's say if there's no subtract 1, right? X over,
Jason,
yeah?
I have a question. Could you also do x over 750 plus 1?
Yeah, we'll go over that. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's okay. Yeah, keep that in mind. So X over 600 is the slower trip, right? So think logically. If you are going slower, the time should be longer, right? It takes longer for you to finish the trip, okay? So this one is the longer trip, longer time. This is the shorter time, okay? Longer means the scale is higher. So you need to make them balance, right? So if you want to make the higher to go lower, you need to subtract. So it's longer time by 1 hour, right? Because from the question here, let me highlight that. Taken an hour longer if you go at 600 kilometers per hour, right? So the shorter time, right? Shorter time on the right side. Longer time need to subtract 1 hour to be the same time, same is equal to the shorter one, shorter time. Okay, so that's one way. So of course, like Nathan said, you can also make the shorter time to add 1, right? Shorter time because you're going faster, so it's shorter time. You add 1 more hour, then it will take the same time as the longer one. Okay, so you can do either one. The equation may look different, but your final answer after you solve, it will be the same, okay? So I'm gonna just keep it at the -1 as before, okay? It doesn't matter, it's the same. Okay, so that's the equation we will need to solve later. And then you will multiply by common denominator on both sides, and then blah, 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 okay? So let's move on, okay? I guess you guys are getting better at it. Let's move on to D. Okay, so this time, let's see if you guys can carry all the way to step 3, okay? To setting up the equation. The number here, this number on the right side here, this is 8 and 3/4. Okay, it's the 8 is the number on the side, okay? So other than that, try it out, okay? Same thing, start with the last statement, make a table, and please try out the equation as well, okay? So when you finish all 3, please raise your hand. One thing to watch out is the word less than. Okay, pay attention to that. Okay, we we've got 5 people done. Anyone has questions? Okay, Eric and Nathan, how are you guys doing? Do you have any questions?
I'm currently doing the third part.
Third part? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go over 1 and 2, okay? So let statement. Colin, what's your let?
Let speed of plane be 8x and let speed of train be x.
Okay, so plane speed is 8x and train speed is x. Yeah, so we can keep in mind the plane is faster, right? Train is slower, right? Normally, right? Unless we get a, I don't know, does the train ever get faster than plane? Okay, maybe in the future. And then number 2, the 2 scenario. Aaron, what are the 2 scenario?
The plane and the train.
The plane and the train. Okay, so 2 vehicle. Okay, so let's write that down. Plane and train. Okay, and Brennan, what's your speed, time, distance for plane?
Speed and distance. Speed is 8x and distance is 1050.
Okay, well, 8x, yeah. And then 1050. What about time?
It's distance over speed, so 1050 over 8x.
Okay. And Nathan, and for train?
Pardon?
What?
This train speed's x.
Yeah, and then?
Uh, I don't know the time.
We don't know time. Do you know distance then?
Distance is 1050, so it's 1050 over x for time.
Yeah, okay. So because you always have one last column that you don't know how to get from the question, that means that's the column you use the formula. Okay. So distance over speed is time. Okay. And Eric, what do you have for equation now?
I have. I'm not sure if this is correct, but I have 1050 divided by 8x equals 1050x 1050 divided by x times 8.75.
Times 8.75,
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think it's times?
Because it's like, oh wait, no, it's less. So would it just be minus?
Let me change that. Minus, like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's check with other people. Okay. Does anyone have the same or something different?
Shouldn't it be addition?
Addition for the right side?
Yeah.
Okay, let me write it down. Oh, that should be 8x, not 80. X, and then 1050 at 8.75. 8.75 is the same as 8 and 3/4, right? So it doesn't matter you use decimal or fraction. What about other people? Anyone get different things? Colin, what do you think? Which one do you have?
I did the same thing. I just put 8.75 as a fraction.
Which one? First one or second one?
Oh, I did the second one.
The plus 8.75. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go over. Okay, so maybe it's still a little bit confusing whether we should add or subtract. Okay, so make sure you understand how to figure out this balance thing. Okay, how to make them equal before you start your homework. Okay, so here we have 2 times. Okay, so let's just focus on the bottom part. The left side is the time for the plane. Okay, we get it from the table. The time from the plane should be, because plane is faster, right? Time should be shorter. Okay, shorter time. Right side is the train. Train should be longer time. Okay, longer time. We're talking about time here, okay, from the table. Grab that here. Right? So of course they are not equal right now. Okay, the equal in the middle shouldn't exist. Okay, but to make them equal, we either need to add or subtract something. So now if you look at the question, the plane takes, right? The plane takes 8 3/4 less than the train. So that means the plane is faster, right? So that's why it takes shorter. So shorter means your balance scale is like this way. Okay, to make it balanced, make it flat, you need to bring the higher one down or use the lower one to go up. Does that make sense? Okay, shorter means lower. Okay, longer means taller. So if you want to balance those two, you have 2 options. You either subtract from the longer one to bring it down, or add it to the shorter one to bring it up. Okay, so if I want to put an 8.75, I need to subtract from the longer time. Okay, so this one should be correct. Does anyone have questions? This is one way, right? If you want to do adding, then your adding should be on the other side. Okay, should be adding to the shorter time, 8.75. Okay, can you raise your hand if you understand? Because this is very, very critical, okay, to get this straight. You think about the 2 times. Think about which one's longer, which one's shorter, and then how to make them equal. Okay, the only 3 people raising your hand. So does that mean 4 of you don't know how this works? Okay, so another thing you can think, okay, I'm trying to help you as much as I can. Let's say we have 5 hour and 7 hour, right? So right now, of course, they don't equal. So your balance, your scale is like this way. right? Because right side is right side is taller, right? Longer time means taller. Shorter time, right? Lower, okay? Higher and lower. So if this, then your 7 and 5, you have two options. You can minus a 2, then they are equal, right? Or you can plus a 2, that also make them equal. It's the same idea, okay? We're just using variable here instead of just numbers. Okay, so first you need to make sure you know which one is the longer time, which one is the shorter time, which one is higher, which one is lower. Then you will know what to do, okay? So you cannot memorize this. You have to understand why we add, why we subtract. Okay, then you can adapt to any question that's presented to you, okay? So let me erase this part. Okay, and bring this up. Okay, let's have a break first, okay? So if you still have any question about any of the equation here in the break, and let's start the class at 11:20, okay?